Hello. You cannot live in radical non-duality. You cannot exist there. When you're so zoomed in that the only thing you see is what is arising in the moment, and that is just this, and this, and this, you can't live there. You can't drive a car, you can't pay your taxes, because none of that is not relevant in a space where the only thing that is arising is just this. So let's talk about it. Like I said, you can't live in radical non-duality. Radical non-duality is a way to look at what reality is when we acknowledge that reality doesn't exist. So radical non-duality look at the arising that is happening in this moment. And what is happening in this moment, it doesn't hold any labels. It doesn't hold any concepts. It's just a pure arising. And that is what radical non-duality is acknowledging. But that also means that you can't live there. You cannot live your life in that pure rising. It's a knowledge you can have, and it's a space you can go into when it's needed, but it doesn't solve any issues in your everyday life. That's why we talk about practical non-duality, where it's about we acknowledge that this meat suit here, the biology here, is experiencing time as a linear progression. Now, that doesn't mean that time is real, and it doesn't mean that time is moving in a linear fashion at all. It just means that we acknowledge that the way that we perceive time and we perceive reality, it is through the senses in the meat suit. Obviously, we keep having the knowledge in the back of our minds all the time that everything we perceive as reality is just a perceived reality. If you're blind, you perceive reality in one way. If you're not blind, you perceive reality in another way. So there's not a one real reality. There's just perceived realities. Now, to work with this and to really see through all the delusions that we have that is making up our everyday life, we have created the Awakening Curriculum. And the Awakening Curriculum is taking you through a process where you see through the 10 different types of identification that we have. So it's identification with thought, with feeling, with emotion, with our habits. It's identification with all the things we want and we don't want. And then we move into the higher fives, which is where it starts to get really, really cool to work with, because when you're no longer hooked into a belief that any of this is in a certain way, but you're open to what is arising in this moment, you can start to dissolve the idea of a subject here and an object out there. You can start to dissolve the delusion of time. You can start to really, really look into what is actually present in this moment, if you're not adding any thoughts to it or any concepts to it, but just really looking at what is. And it ends up in a space where you just move with flow. Now, the Awakening Curriculum is absolutely free. You can just go to this channel, start at the first feta, and it will take you through a process. It's absolutely free because we rely on people liking and subscribing and donations. So we don't have any ads and we don't have any sponsors. We keep it absolutely free because we want this knowledge to be available for everyone. Like we normally say that we're saving the planet one awakening at a time. So this year in 2025, I'm going to focus on making small videos for you that is talking about practical non-duality, that when we live our lives and we identify in all the different ways, how can we support ourselves? How can we down-regulate the nervous system and the entire biochemistry so we can be present in the moment and not add all the things on top of things that we assume is there, so we only react to our assumptions and not to what is actually present in the moment. And if you just take a deep breath right now, and you can close your eyes and make another deep breath. Now, what we are asking you to do is to feel into reality. And obviously, it cannot be one specific reality that you feel into. You can only feel into what seems to be real to you right now. And what you use to figure out what seems to be real to you right now is your senses. So you make a deep breath again and feel your bum in the seat. If you really feel into it, can you feel where your bum ends and the seat begins? You probably can't. And if you really feel the sensations you have in the area where you assume your bum to be, is that even bum shaped? It probably isn't. And while you're sitting here and just breathing deeply, what do you actually notice in your direct experience? And your direct experience is what you pick up through your senses. So what do you feel? What do you hear? And when I'm asking you to listen to what you hear, I'm not asking you to listen to the labels of what you hear, but what do you actually hear? I might say I can hear the wind, or I can hear a dog bark. But those are labels. The wind is a label that we put on to explain how air is moving. A dog bark is a description of an animal, which is the concept and the sound that that animal makes. But if you remove all that, what do you actually hear? So in the Bahia Sutta we look into in the heard is simply the heard. So do not add any labels, but just listen to the vibration in your ears. You need to slow down and zoom in to really, really distinguish. What do you actually hear? Okay, make a deep breath and open your eyes. Now with practical non-duality, what we're pointing to is the same as radical non-duality, because in this moment there is just an arising. There is just this. The problem is sitting and pointing to just this and just this, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you in your everyday life to how to navigate road rage and employees and colleagues and friends and children and school recitals and PTA meetings and all of that. It doesn't help you in your everyday life. And that's why we find it a bit silly to sitting and pointing and just sitting and repeating just this. It doesn't help you. So what we are trying to do is to help you down regulate your entire system so you can actually be present in this moment and notice what is actually here in this moment. Not what you think is here, but what is actually here. And that is what we're doing with this channel. I can recommend you to like and subscribe, like every single video you watch, do the curriculum from the first fetter. And I can also recommend you to go to our other channel, which is called Unfettered Mindfulness. There you will find lots of meditations and inquiries, which is going to help you to slow down and zoom in and notice what is actually here right now. So until we speak next time, slow down, zoom in, breathe, and notice what is actually here, not what you think is here, but what is actually here. Thank you.